Hey everybody, today I'm going to be talking about some of the new annuals from Proven Winners, and these are plants that get loads of marketing emphasis, so you probably have already heard of them. I want to cut through all that hype and really be able to talk to you about how I saw these plants performing in the trial and display gardens. I want to be able to talk about how I think you can actually use them in your garden, and I want to talk about how they compare to their competition as well. So that's going to be my goal in this. I'm going to just go through these in alphabetical order and give you my take on what I saw and how I think they're gonna do, this season. So first one is gonna be an Agastache. Now, Agastache is one of those plants that we're used to seeing the blue or purple variety, like Blue Fortune, one of those kind of things. So it's also called anise hyssop. It's also called hummingbird mint. Well, these newer varieties, these hybrids, are going to be very different colors, and they have very different flowers. And the Maestro series from Proven Winners, they have two colors. They have coral and gold. And I'm just going to warn you right up front that the color on these, both on the foliage and the flowers, is going to be a little bit silvery. So it has a little bit of an antique or muted kind of look to it. So people are going to either really like that or they're not going to like it at all. So now, when it comes to your containers, I think a container of just the Maestro Agastache, going to be a little bit underwhelming. It's one of those plants that it has a lot of flowers and it blooms continuously throughout the season. You don't have to deadhead it for it to rebloom. However, you might want to shear it back at some point during the season, but they're not showstoppers. I think it's going to be underwhelming if you just have those in the container. So if you're going to use them in containers, I think you need to think about what you're going to put it with and realize that the Agastache is going to create like a nice little cloud of color, but those flowers are very small, but they're abundant. So it's a little bit different. You see a lot of the foliage on this one, so it makes it a little bit different from some of the other annuals that we're used to that have big showy flowers. And for that reason, I think some people aren't gonna maybe be drawn to this plant too, because it is more subtle, more of a lacy kind of texture to it as well. So just realize that. In the landscape, I think they could be really pretty, like planted in a ribbon, because I think that silvery color is going to contrast quite nicely and look quite good in the landscape. However, if you're going to put it in the landscape, you may want to consider one of the perennial varieties that are out there, because there are other varieties and different companies that have come out with these, both the dwarf ones like these Maestros and also some of the bigger ones. So even Proven Winners has a perennial version, and so their perennial version is called Meant to Be, and so they have two colors of that one. And that one gets quite large though, so it's a lot larger than this one. But if I'm going to put it in the landscape, this might be the way to go, something like this. But there are some other series out there. So I have seen the Summerlong series in containers, absolutely beautiful, looks very similar to this one, and it has more colors available. Also, I've seen the Sunrise series, and those looked, I thought, just as good as the Maestro series, and more colors of those. And both of those are slightly more hardy. So I think the Maestro series is really hardy to like 8B or something like that. Meanwhile, Summerlong, I think, goes down to a 7. And I think the Sunset series, depending on the color, it's either going to be a 5 or a 6. So even if you're in a zone 5, you may have an opportunity to have these as a perennial. Now, I have not grown one as a perennial, so I can't say, yes, these are going to last for the whole season. But definitely, if you're putting in landscape, consider some of those perennial varieties. If you're putting them in containers, don't be afraid to try, like I said, the Summerlong series or the Sunset or Sunrise. Sorry, I was saying Sunset, but I really meant Sunrise series, as well as the Maestro series. All of them are really good. If I was going to give this a rating, so let's say we had bronze, silver, and gold, I'm probably going to just stick with bronze because I think it's comparable to its competition. I think because it's divisive, I think some people are going to really like it. Some people are not going to like it at all. I don't know that it brings a whole lot. Now, the flowers are going to bring maybe what our annual salvias bring to our containers, except they're going to be denser and more flowers, but tiny flowers. So it is a little bit different than a salvia, but you can kind of think of it, I guess, in that way, how you'd use a salvia in there. So that's my 2 cents on that one. Next up is a begonia. So there's a new wax begonia in the SUREFIRE series. And I'm a fan of the SUREFIRE begonias. I think they're fantastic. Like, they get a really good size. So a lot of people, when they think of wax begonias, they think of those little 4-packs or 6-packs that they get at the big box stores. And, they get maybe 8 inches, 10 inches in size, and they kind of max out at that. That's not the case with the SUREFIRE. SUREFIREs are very vigorous. They get quite large. I mean, we're talking 2-3 feet kind of thing. I'm especially fond of the white, which came out not too long ago. Really, that one just grows beautiful, and it actually is kind of a nice ball shape, beautiful waxy leaves on it. Well, the new version of the SUREFIRE is the Cascade Red. So there's only one color, but Cascade, you might be able to figure out what this means. It actually has a trailing habit. So it will go over the edge of the pot, whereas the other SUREFIREs tend to be more upright. They will kind of go, go around the edge of the pot, but they don't actually trail. This one actually will go down around your pot. And at first when I heard that, I thought, oh, there is already a trailing wax begonia called Hula out there. Did they just take the Hula Red and slap the Proven Winner's name on it? No, that's not the case at all. When I saw it immediately, I knew like that is not the Hula. The Hula is very like, it has like this really structured kind of habit to it, stays in like this perfect little ball. This one is much more casual. It has much bigger flowers as well. So the flowers are going to be on par with the SUREFIRE, whereas the Hula flowers tend to be a little bit smaller, even a little bit more sparse, I'd say. So this one, I mean, this is a great one. This one is gold medal all the way for me. Partly because it fills a role in my containers that no other wax begonia does. And I'm a fan of wax begonias. I like the SUREFIREs. I'd take a Viking or a big begonia any day. Dragon Wing and the Whopper, they're pretty good too. They're not my favorites. I like the Stonehedge one too. That's the one that gets really, really big. So I'm a fan of these. And the fact that this one is doing something different, that says it all for me. So I'm probably, when I'm going to use a wax begonia in a container, I'm going to use a SUREFIRE Cascade. No questions asked at all. You can also use these in the landscape. So the nice thing about these is they get about a foot wider than the regular SUREFIREs. So if I put SUREFIREs in landscape, I love how they look. I love the fact that this one becomes more of a ground cover. So it doesn't get as tall. It's going to spread out a lot more. And that's going to also be a good alternative if you're used to buying those little 4-packs and 6-packs of begonias. For every pack of those that you buy, you probably only need one of these, and maybe even like you might be able to take 2 packs of those, or 3 packs of those would equal 2 of these even. I'm pretty sure of it because I haven't seen a lot of those small ones get as big as some of these. So really good coverage, so good value on these as well. So definitely put these in. Oh, Proven Winners has like a vigor measure. These are a vigor 4. So you can put these with like the really vigorous petunias. They're going to hold up on their own. Meanwhile, the AGASTACHE, I think, was a vigor of 3, so it's still quite vigorous. Can hold its own basically against some vigorous plants. Next up is Bidens. So there's a new color in the CAMPFIRE series of Bidens called Red Ember. And they also have the Goldilocks Rocks Bidens, so that's kind of their flagship Bidens. That one is a vigor of 3, so it gets quite big, beautiful yellow color. The CAMPFIRE series is going to be a little bit more compact, not quite as vigorous. This color is going to be a very orangey red, so don't let the name red fool you. It really is a very red orange, but it definitely is a different color from the CAMPFIRE Flame, which is the other color that they have. I've grown the CAMPFIRE Marshmallow the last 2 years. I really like that one as well. So this is a really strong performer. Everywhere I saw it, it was in full bloom, covered in flowers. So got to give it credit for that. But there are a lot of Bidens out there that perform well. Bidens is one of those plants that's easy to grow, tends to be very consistent as far as blooms. So it's just a matter of choosing your color and, do you want a single or a double flower? So this one, I'm going to just say it's silver. I don't think it raises way, way above all the rest, but it is like of the Bidens. I think this is a really solid, really good performing one. Now for caladiums, the Heart to Heart series has 2 new ones. One's Midnight Oil, the other one is Creme Brulee. The Midnight Oil is a really unusual color. It really does look like oil. It has that black with that little bit of burgundy red, also a little bit of green in there. So that color is just very, very unique. I kind of stared at it for a while because it got my attention. But as I was looking at it, I was thinking, you have to be careful what you put this with. You have to think about contrast because, if you put it with just regular dark foliage, that dark leaf is just going to kind of create a hole. It's just going to disappear. Meanwhile, if you have it against something that contrasts, like if you have it against something lime or you have it against a lighter color background, it's going to look great. I don't think it's going to look good against, you know, your red brick house or something like that. So do think about what your background is. This is a pretty vigorous variety, can take sun or shade as well. So that's really nice. I'm going to give this one a gold medal because it is such a unique color and it looked really good when I saw it. The creme brulee, on the other hand, I honestly don't remember it. It has completely disappeared from my memory. So I'm going to say it's got to get a bronze because I know it would perform well, but I mean, I think the color was very similar to some of the other ones I had seen. So I think it's attractive, but I don't remember it. So it gets bronze. Sorry. Okay, I figured out why I found that caladium so forgettable. It's because when I saw it in person, it looked 100 times better than it does in the photograph. So when I was looking at these photos, I was kind of like, I don't remember that. That doesn't come to mind. Looking through my photos, and suddenly it came back to me, like slapped me right in the face going, it's that caladium. It was absolutely gorgeous. It had a much bigger range of color than what I see in most of the photographs. The thing was actually quite large, which was impressive. And to be honest with you, I remember now, I like that one better than Midnight Oil. So creme brulee was like a gold medal winner and I completely forgot about it. So I feel kind of embarrassed by that, but hey, at least I caught it before I put this video out. It'd be terrible if you were to tell you, not so great. And then it's like one of my favorite ones. So there you have it. Want to make sure you knew that. One thing I will say that I've learned from growing caladiums is that also the size of container that you get can make a difference. So when we buy proven winner plants, a lot of times we think, oh, buy the small ones because we know those plants get really big, they have really high vigor. But with caladiums, sometimes getting one in a bigger pot is a better idea because when they're sending them to growers, a lot of times if they're in a bigger pot, they're going to have more tubers in there. So that's going to mean more stems. More stems means more foliage, bigger plant. Meanwhile, if it's in just like that little quart container, it probably only has the one tuber in it. So it'll get larger as the season progresses, but sometimes if you're just getting the quarts, if the price is right, get two because you're going to want them to fill out a little bit more. The creme brulee is also more of a shade to part shade kind of plant. So now on to CALIBRACHOA, and there is a new Superbells Magic. Now, what makes these magic is that they are color changing types. So there's one other one in the series, they introduced it a couple years ago called Superbells Magic Pink Lemonade. And this is one that will alternate between pink and yellow in its color. And I think the conditions will affect that, but also it might be a little bit random. From what I've heard, I think it tends to be more pink when it's cooler, more yellow when it's warmer. Just depends on when the flowers are produced, what the temperature is at that time. So very attractive plant, really big flowers on the pink lemonade, really gets really quite big, full of blooms. It's a really good performer. So I was very excited when I heard about Superbells Magic Double Grapefruit. So it is the double version of this, but I wouldn't say that the colors are the same. The pink is quite different. It's got less of the pink in it, which gives it more of a peachy, orangey kind of cast to it, which I think is very attractive and very unusual. I was very happy to see it. And when I saw it in person, I was not disappointed. Flowers are big, coverage is great, the plant gets nice and big. So that is a really good sign. And when it comes to these color change CALIBRACHOAs, there are a couple other ones. The varieties I think of are like Ombre and Chameleon. Both of those, when I've seen them, they have big flowers, full flower coverage, big plants. So I think Pink Lemonade gets a run for its money from the other varieties that have similar colors of those, but there is nothing like the double grapefruit in the Superbells Magic. That is a unique color. It's a double, and I get nervous with doubles because a lot of times doubles, they maybe don't get quite as big or they don't have as good a flower coverage. Not a problem here. This one is doing great. When it comes to other doubles though, I mean, I have found that the Superbells doubles are my favorite. There are some like MiniFamous Neo doubles that I think do pretty well too, but I've been really happy with the Superbells doubles, so I'm giving that one the gold. Like, no doubt about it, grapefruit gets the gold. Now I'm going to talk about more of a filler plant. It's called Silver River DIDELTA, and I haven't grown a DIDELTA before, but when I saw it, I wanted it because it has this really unique leaf that kind of winds around itself. It also kind of trails over the edge of the pot, fills out amazingly. It was gorgeous. I mean, really beautiful. It definitely can play the role of some of the trailing, like Dusty Miller type plants, the Artemisias. It's not so much of an upright, so some of the Dusty Millers that you think of go, way up. This one's going to be one of those nice filler type of plants. It's really beautiful. Gold medal all the way. I think this is one that's very unique, very unusual. If you see it, just get it, try it in a container. I think you're gonna be really happy with that one. Now for IPOMOEA or IPOMOEA, that sweet potato vine, there are 2 new varieties. So I'm gonna start with the Sweet Caroline Medusa Black. So a couple years ago, they came out with Sweet Caroline Medusa Green, and I like that plant. It is very different from all the other sweet potato vines. I think Proven Winners is the only one that has one quite like this. Its leaves are very deeply lobed, so it has these really long fingers on it, which make it look really like a frilly palm of some kind. It plays more of a role like a fern in your container than it does a sweet potato vine. So a lot of times you think of sweet potato vine, you think of these long arms going all over the place. No, not the case with this one. This is very much a mounding type. It can be a little bit of a slow starter, just like all the other sweet potatoes are, but once they take off, it's pretty vigorous. This one is a 3, so pretty good vigor on this. And the black is absolutely stunning, looks beautiful, very vigorous, very nice. I'm gonna say though, I wouldn't rank it as high as I would the green, partly because the green is gonna stand out wherever it goes, especially if you're putting in the landscape, that green creates a beautiful patch of color. This black, if you're gonna put it in the landscape, if you have dark mulch or if you have soil, it's gonna just blend right in, you're gonna lose it. So you have to think about that contrast with this. You need to put it with brighter colors, with limes, with whatever it is. It needs to be against something that's gonna be nice and bright. It's pretty good. I'm gonna give it a silver because it's unique, but I don't think that this color is gonna be gonna serve a lot of roles in your garden unless you really want that dark kind of goth garden kind of look, or you need that contrast of some dark foliage in there. So that's where I'm at with that. The next sweet potato vine is going to be the Sweet Caroline Sweetheart SHADOWSTORM. And this one is going to be one that's going to divide the audience because some people are going to absolutely hate this one and some people are going to just go gaga over it. So it's a variegated version that is mostly the dark color, so more of a black color, and then it has green. So some of the leaves are going to have speckles, some are going to have stripes, some are going to be half and half, some are going to be a little bit more green than the black. It's going to vary completely, and I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to it. The plant just decides what it's going to do, and you might find if you plant 3 of them, one might be really, really dark, one might be more speckly. Even on the same plant, one branch might be different than the other. So a lot of variation in it. So for that reason, I'm going to just go bronze with this one just because I think I'm trying to figure out when it's going to be really good. If I had one, I'd love to use it. I think it's going to be really quite attractive, but it's not one that I'm going to really be seeking out and having to have. So gets a bronze for me. I do want to note they have it ranked at what is the vigor? I think they have it ranked a vigor of 3. Everywhere I saw it, it was super vigorous. It's a really dense one. So whereas some of the other varieties have these really long spindles going out. This one, it just was full all the way. I mean, it was long, but it seemed to just have so many branches. It was really dense. I think you do have some risk with this one of it pushing out. So I think this one probably is a little bit more of a 4, even though when we think of the Sweetheart series from Proven Winners, they tend to be a little bit more compact than some of the other sweet potato vines on the market. This one I think falls into that really super vigorous variety. So keep that in mind and don't let that whole it's less vigorous fool you. They're still very vigorous. So I think the color is really unique. I think it's better than some of the other variegated varieties out there, but I think from a distance, you're not going to see that variegation. So bronze medal, that's where I'm at. Next up is a more unusual plant. It's the James Britannia. And a lot of people probably haven't heard of James Britannia. However, Proven Winners has been trying to promote their Safari series. And we grew the Safari Dawn and Safari Sky when they first came out, and they're nice. They get beautiful flower colors, really unique combinations, quite attractive. They bloom most of the season and they don't require much care. I think the thing that I might criticize them for is that they kind of have a inconsistent growing habit, so they can get a little lumpy, bumpy, and they can go out of flower at different times. So I don't know. That's at least the experience I had with it. Now, the other thing though is that this is a really heat tolerant and drought tolerant plant. I think this is part of Proven Winners' efforts to have more plants for those people who live in those hot climates. People in hot climates, when they think of Proven Winners, they think, oh yeah, their plants can't handle our heat, they can't handle our humidity. They're trying to introduce more plants that can. This one is definitely more of an arid plant. It's also known as a South African phlox. The new color is Lava Flow. And I will say the color is beautiful. It did have decent flower coverage when I saw it, but I also have seen some trial garden examples where the flower coverage wasn't so great. So this one just gets a bronze, if ranked at all. I haven't bought into James Petunia. I'm not sure why. I have seen some other varieties out there. So I've seen the Jammin' Pink and the Stardom Gold Star. That's a pink one and a yellow one. And they grow very similarly. The colors aren't as exciting as Safari series though. When it comes to flower color, the color of these absolutely fantastic, and they're going to look maybe a little bit more like a Bacopa but with cool colors. So it's a good plant, but I think it's really specific to your interests and your conditions. So like for me, I probably would just, instead of getting this Lava Flow, I probably would just go with the Biden's, the Red Ember one. Color, this one maybe is a little bit more reddish than that one is red orange, but that's where I'd be at with it. Personal choice. And I'm going to go out of alphabetical order here because I'm going to talk about another phlox, since that's a South African phlox. This is more of the traditional phlox that we're used to, and it's the Southern Blaze Bright Pink. And Southern Blaze is the new name for the Intensia series. So again, notice the word Southern Blaze. I think they're really trying to play to the Southern audience where it's warmer and hotter, where this plant is going to thrive. This, I got to say, the colors on these, I have been so impressed, especially with the blueberry and the, what is it called? Red Hot. Unbelievable color, beautiful flowers on it. I will say again, that growth habit is a little inconsistent on it, and it can go out of flower at different times. So that's a little bit of an issue for me with it. I'm going to just give it a bronze just because I'm just not sold on this phlox either. I don't know why. It's not blowing my hair back. So that's where I sit with that. And then next up is the Lobelia. So Proven Winners came out with the Laguna series of Lobelia, and now they have the Laguna Royale. And anytime Proven Winners puts Royale in the title, that usually means it's a little bit smaller variety, maybe more compact, maybe more branching. They've done it with their Lantana and with their Verbena. So they have, their regular, and then they have a couple of the Royales. That's the same thing with this Lobelia. So the Laguna regular Lobelia is quite large. It's one of the larger ones on the market. The good news is that Laguna has consistently been a good performer in heat for the most part. Like, you always have a risk with a Lobelia of, if it gets too hot, it can peter out. If at the first sign of drought, it tends to pout. Fortunately, like Laguna and a couple other ones, they're a little bit more forgiving. So if they sense some drought, they'll give you the signal, and as long as you get them water, they'll be okay. Other varieties, like the minute they're thirsty, they just dry out. Some of them even die. So Laguna Royale, when I heard about it, I was like, okay, how do I feel about an even smaller variety of Lobelia? Because Lobelia is not a huge plant, it doesn't get super big. How do I feel about that? And I wasn't really looking forward to it. I thought, I'm probably not going to be impressed. When I saw it, I have to say, it looked good. It was holding up to the heat. I saw it at the end of July, and I also saw some in the beginning of August, and it looked really nice. It is more compact. It has more branches. It's really covered in flowers. So I think this one, if you have smaller containers, it's going to look good. Also, if you're putting it in the landscape, if you wanted to put like a little row of stuff that was really tidy and like really filled out really nice and made like this little arch of color, I think this would be a really nice one for that, as long as you can keep it watered. So it's a nice series, and the colors are quite unique, I guess. Now, granted, the Royale Azure is going to be like the regular light blue. The Blue Pearl, which apparently isn't a new one, but it's in that series, has the white eye. But the lilac and the pink, I think, are a little bit more unusual. They all look good. They did show, like one of them did show signs of heat stress or water stress, and it still looked pretty good. So I can tell that this is a variety that, when it comes to Lobelia, it's better than some of the older varieties, but still, you got to be careful with that. So if you're in a hot climate, probably don't even consider this one. But I was pleasantly surprised with this one if you're looking for something compact. Now when it comes to petunias, they have two new petunia colors, and the first one I'm going to tell you about is the Supertunia Mini Vista Pink Cloud. So this one is beautiful. It's this great pink color, and the Mini Vistas are going to have smaller flowers, but this one makes up for smaller flowers with an abundance of them. It creates a complete mound of them. I mean, Pink Cloud is not an exaggeration. It's covered in blooms, looks really, really good. It's kind of like this like cotton candy meets flamingo kind of thing. It's just really a great color, especially in this world of like Supertunia Vista bubblegum pink. This is a refreshing pink. I see this pink and I'm like, oh, that's nice. It's kind of like a baby pink, but I don't know. It's just very, very nice. The thing that I will say about it though is that it's very, very similar. In fact, I couldn't tell the difference. When I looked at it, it looked just like the Itsy Pink Petunia. So that makes me go like, man, it is so similar that it made me looking to check the plant patents. And apparently they have completely different plant patents. So they're completely different plants, but boy, they look similar. So if they look similar, they might have some similar characteristics in growing them. So one thing I will say about the Itsy Pink, which I have grown, is that it is a little bit of a slow starter. So it tends to stay small for a while. And then once it's established, then it really takes off. Once it takes off too, it tends to keep itself very like tight and dense. So it creates more of like a mound of plant versus some of the other petunias or supertunias where they kind of send out arms and they can kind of play nice with other plants. This one is going to create a block of color. So keep that in mind when you're using it. That makes it really good in the landscape because that's what we want. And a lot of times in our landscape is to be able to cover a lot of space. They have the vigor down as 2. So I think early in the season is a 2, but definitely it gets up to a 3 later on in the season. You know, once we get into the end of July, this thing is quite large and quite vigorous. So I'm going to give that one gold medal. No doubt about it. I really do love it. Meanwhile, the lobelias, I'm going to give them, I'm going to say a bronze. They're just like a lot of the other lobelias that I've seen. So unique color. So maybe, you know what, the color is going to give them a silver. So we're going to bump them up to a silver just because those two colors are a little bit more unusual. So one more petunia to tell you about, and that is the Supertunia Vista Cool Jazz. Now, when I first heard about this one, they said, this is a sport of the Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. And Jazzberry is one of my favorite petunias. And it gets that title with me because it has been the most consistent, well-behaved petunia I've ever grown. It basically gets covered in flowers. The flowers maybe are a little smaller than some of the other supertunias, but it's got so many of them. The color is beautiful. The habit is always just so well-behaved. It also tends to be able to take a little bit of abuse. So if you're behind on fertilizing or if you're behind on watering, a lot of the other petunias will start getting spindly or they'll look kind of funny. This one, it might kind of flower a little bit less, but it tends to just like let you know. And as long as you correct it, it doesn't lose its shape. It holds up really well. The leaves stay nice and green too, so it's less prone to chlorosis, that yellowing of the leaves that we sometimes see if we're not giving, or like if the pH is too high of our water. So super excited when I heard about Cool Jazz because I'm like, yes, if there is another jazzberry but a different color, I'm all in. Then I saw it, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is the color of Supertunia that no one is asking for. It is very different from other petunia colors, I will say that, and the pictures make it look like it's a nice soft pink. It is more kind of a lilac-y pink. They call it like orchid pink or orchid purple or something, a light, I don't remember how they described it, but it is a much cooler color. I'm having a hard time picturing it in the landscape. I think it might get a little bit lost if you put it out in the landscape. It's a little too silvery. In containers, I'm having a hard time figuring out what to put it with. The color is not resonating with me at all. Like, I don't know why. I feel like it should. I was like totally open to it being like my favorite petunia, and it is not. Every time I saw it, I liked it less, which is really strange for me because usually plants will grow on me. This one actually kind of started making me go like, nah, there's so many other petunias out there. I'm going to go for another one. So this is the one that I'm not even ranking it. I don't want it. Like, that's so crazy. I'm very curious though to hear what you guys think of it. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there who do like it. I mean, anytime there's a new Supertunia, people seem to go gaga over it, but this one's not working for me. Tell me or show me. That's what I want. I want somebody to show me what they're going to put it with and I want to see that container and I want to see what it looks like, because they're saying it looks good with purple or pink. I don't think it does. I was looking at that flower and I was like, what do I put this with? I didn't like it. It didn't work for me. So sorry, that's the one I feel most strongly about. Like, Now, I didn't go over any of the improved varieties that they have. They have quite a few ones that they're improving this year, but I did want to talk a little bit about the Petunia Bordeaux improved, because they did come out with a new variety or new version of it, because the old variety, they probably haven't said this, but they were having some issues with it in production. It just wasn't always being produced, or wasn't coming out quite right, wasn't growing the way it used to. And this has been a mainstay Petunia. Like, people really rely on this one because it's when it came out especially, it was very unique. It has the dark veining with that nice light purple background, really gorgeous, had good growth, did really well for people. And you may have noticed it was harder and harder to find over the last 2 years, and that was a production issue. So they did decide that they needed to revamp it. And so they have a new version that came out. And normally when they come out with a new version, it's very similar to the previous one. It just has enhanced characteristics. This one has enhanced characteristics. I've seen pictures of the comparison side by side, and I've seen the comparison side by side. And I will say the new version has way more flowers, beautiful habit, really good coverage. But what they might not be telling you is that the color is quite different. The background color, the lighter color, is quite a bit lighter. So it's a brighter color coming out, whereas I always felt like the Bordeaux was in that kind of dark and moody kind of thing. This one is a little bit brighter. So just like they did with the Bermuda Beach, Petunia Bermuda Beach, they did change the color up quite a bit. I think in your containers, you might not notice, the average person wouldn't notice, but if you've come to love the Bordeaux for what it was, this is gonna be a little bit different. So just be aware of it, but I think you're still gonna like it. I think it's still like a powerhouse plant, and now that it's got better plant or flowering power and better habit, I mean, it makes up, I think, for the color, but yeah, it's a good one. So just know, though, that you are gonna notice a little bit of difference. So thank you guys for watching. Now, I have rated all these plants. I want you to maybe rate how I did by giving me a like or letting me know in the comments which things you agree with, which ones you disagree with, which plants you're really looking forward to. I really do want to know what you guys think of some of these varieties. I realize like some of you are going to have very different opinions of these plants than I will. Hopefully you got some information that's going to be useful to you and help you decide what plants you want to get next season. So good luck. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.